welcome back to another episode of Monday Madness, episode 8. This is your boy Coach UV, and I'm represented by the Unique Trading Group. I tell you, this week isn't just big, it's very pivotal. CPI is behind us. Fed Chair Powell speaks Wednesday. The markets are positioning, and if you don't know the track before the move, you're going to be fooled for the machine. This video is your blueprint, so be prepared. The squeeze is setting up. Remember the squeeze that I talked about? The setup before the squeeze? Right. Check out that link above. But I'll show you the chart, the internals, the volatility signals, and what institutional flow is whispering ahead of the Fed. Let's get technical, okay? You guys ready? All right. Listen, first, market structure, all right? Look at SPY on the 4-hour time frame. We've bounced from clean off 600, strong support at 600. Volume profile confirms the buyers are packed. We're in the ascending channel, but we haven't broken out yet. The Bollinger Bands are tightening, right? That's a coil, all right? The setup before the squeeze. Now, combine that with the macro, all right? The dollar, the DXY is falling. The VIX flushed today, all right? Hedge funds are not long, all right? Hedge funds are net long according to the COT report. The COT report, the commitment of traders. Eternals like the tick and the AD line, right? These are market eternals and they're supporting upside. The machine's painting a picture. The question is, are you reading it? Are you ready for it? We're stepping into a very pivotal moment, all right? And I want you to be prepared, okay? So as we dive into it, let's get over to the charts. Are you guys ready? We're going to start with Tesla. And here we are. Okay. So, we are stepping into a very psychological minefield, okay? Powell speaks Wednesday, like I said before. Thursday is the market holiday, all right? Short week. Friday is options expiration, quad witching, all right? That means that liquidity will be light, all right? Options gamma will be heavy, and the narrative will drive price. So, here's the trap. The market may rally ahead of Powell, pricing in a dovish tone, just to fade right after. That's how the matrix works, right? The move you're waiting for often comes disguised. So don't chase, prepare, all right? So I want to show you a couple of things, okay? First, we're going to check out this spot chart, right? We're going to give you some guidance to prepare you for the rest of the week. This is episode 8 of Monday Madness, right? Ahead of Powell, all right? This is your prep. Right now, the market closed today around 602.68. I informed the group chat this morning that I was not going to trade, all right? Let them know that, cash is a position. So I told everybody to enjoy their day and to make sure that they define their exit, their entry, and their risk. And that's what we had today. We had some bullish momentum to the upside, but I decided not to trade. But I did have some long swings, all right? So I still got those, but what do we have here? On the 4-hour chart on SPY, right? We have price still above the 21. We have some pullback now for profit taking, which will be expected because we had a gap up from OPEX Friday. OPEX Friday, I informed the YouTube community in the Discord that we would have some volatility expansion, all right? Contracts expire. And so anytime contracts expire, that following week, you get a knee-jerk reaction in the market, right? And that's what we got today. We got all of this moving up, all right? And towards the end of the day, we had some rejection, okay? And so we can expect a push down into tomorrow. People are preparing and staying cash because day traders, they get in and they get out like a robbery. So they're very cautious into meetings and into a volatile week like quadruple witching. Never forget this. It's never going to change. Remember, you heard this from me, Coach UV, at 6:42 p.m. the 16th of June, 2025. It's best to stay cash and to wait sometimes when you have a lot of data. Short weeks, especially heavy weeks, packed with data like the Fed minutes is coming up on Wednesday, all right? You want to be vigilant. You want to be very selective. Focus on 1 or 2 tickers, if not just one, especially if you're a beginner, right? Especially over the years and the months and weeks on your journey, learning the personality of the stocks. You want to protect your cash, all right? And you want to wait to see what happens the next day. And so you have some profit taking here on SPY. But let's check out the weekly and the daily. We're going to start with the weekly. Okay. We are clearly extended over the 21, but we are still above the 21. Okay, and currently the previous week's close was 597. Okay, and we are currently above 597. As you can see, we closed at 602.68 today, so that is bullish. And anytime we have a bigger time frame bullish look, where we have these simple bullish technical patterns like higher highs and higher lows and higher opens, right, previous closes become support. And so anytime that happens, we have bullish momentum. So it's a buy the dip moment when the higher time frames are showing bullish bias. The smaller time frames give you your entry. All right, it's a buy the dip moment whenever you have previous week and previous day highs and closes that are acting as support. And so here on the time frame on the weekly, we see that we have that. We are underneath the volume point of control, so I say stay cautious. All right, let's go back to the daily time frame. All right, this could be a bull trap. Could be a bull trap for the bulls. All right, you guys be ahead and be prepared and aware of that. Okay, this could be overhead resistance for us to fall back to retest 599 and 595 in the bottom of the Bollinger Band here to fill these gaps at 592 and 595. All right, there is a gap here in this zone, so be prepared for the pump and dump scenario for tomorrow and the rest of this week. Okay, but right now we have a higher time frame bullishness and a smaller time frame bearishness, and I can show you that again quickly before we move on. We are going to be covering Tesla and Netflix, and that will be my only two stocks that I'm going to trade and talk about today, and I'll show you a market eternal, the VIX, and the put call ratio. But right now, this is what we have on the SPY. Now, as long as we create higher lows, and we find a pivot point, like I said, it's a buy the dip moment. But as you can see, we have price continuing to the downside for some profit taking right inside of this channel. So it is to be expected. We did have a gap up. It's very volatile on weeks like this, so we can have big flushes and big pushes to the upside. You just want to be prepared, okay? So before I move away from SPY, okay, I've already gave you what I thought about that, okay? And so before I move on to Tesla and some of the put call ratios and the market eternals like the VIX, I just want to give you some key levels to think about tomorrow. Okay, this is very important. And if you're focusing on one stock, right, and you're not cluttered all over the place, this is going to be for you. Okay, you want to master something. Okay, this video it's always going to be up. Lord willing, it's going to be here, so you can always check it out and rewind it, whether you're new, beginner, or advanced. You guys can gain some value from what I'm about to show you. Okay, now I'm going to use the hour. As you can see, we have some overhead resistance here. Price has rejected, right, lower highs, and we have some rejection below the 21. All right, we can see flushes back down towards these gaps. But to put it in context, I want you to get a piece of paper and pen. Whatever you need to do, record. All right, this next part is going to be very important. All right, the key zones for you to watch out for. All right. This is the bull breakout zone, all right? 605 and 608. This is the bull breakout zone, all right? If we get above that with volume, right, with the DXY and the VIX staying soft, we ride that momentum up to 610 and 615. But watch out. Remember that. That's where the trap could spring for a bull trap. So if we're ahead of the move, and we're in the trade based on our triggers, we can be taking profits on our calls, guys. Just keep it funky. Price gets above this parallel channel, it should be a smaller bull flag, right? And it breaks above, can make a bull flag measure move, all right? And that move could take us up towards the prices that I'm giving you. So just be aware of that. Wednesday are the day that I'm predicting for this move to happen. This is what I'm giving you guys 2 days ahead of time, okay? The setup before the squeeze. And it's been rising ever since, okay? There are some folks who roll puts and swung puts, and some people who overloaded on calls. But if people who understand that we don't want to have cash on in this kind of volatile market, you get these type of moves, and you have to understand that. All right, prices is not too stable, and just because it's falling now does not mean that we're going to continue to tank for the past 2 days. You just have very volatile moves. Tomorrow when we wake up, it's going to be another setup, right? Just think about it. If prices falling really, really big and we wake up tomorrow, what's the chance that we're likely going to gap up? I mean, didn't we do it here? And so I'm not afraid of the drop. I understand the context of what's going on. All right. Okay. So I want to just reiterate 605. All right. 608. These are your bull breakout zones. Okay. Right above here. All right. If we flush under 600, the first dip buy zone is 595. Okay. So that's right around here. If we flush here, all right, the midway point of this entire move, right here is the midway point. All right. If we flush, the first dip buy zone is going to be 595 around here at previous demand. You understand that? All right. This is your 0.382 to 618 fib zone. If you're not familiar with the fib, it's all right. We can talk about that in another time, in another video. Comment if you like for me to talk further and do a video analysis on Fibonacci. But I'm just giving you the levels for you to understand, all right, what I'm looking at and what to be prepared for. So that's strong confluence right there, 595, 93. If we can get a bounce there, all right? Okay, so what do you do, right? What do you do, right? You wait, you observe, you strike only when the setup appears. One trade, one setup, one move, just like Neo in the Matrix. Clarity under chaos. This market is chaos. A lot of chop, a lot of big swings. But understanding a plan, having a plan, is how you execute. All right, now we're going to move on to Tesla. All right, I'm going to give you my analysis on Tesla as well. And we're going to go to Netflix, okay? What do we have on Tesla? All right, my chart is on a 30-minute time frame. I could do that analysis up there. All right, this is a day trade, possibly intraday time frame. Even if I went to the hour, you can see kind of like the same thing. We can go with the hour, right? It's a really good day trading time frame. All right, think about this. All right, think about this. Right now we have some overhead resistance on Tesla. All right, I'm bullish on Tesla, but that don't mean we can't get some discounts, right? I don't want to be biased. I want to be smart. I want to lock in my profit. Now, I've been inside of the Discord with the group. I gave out some swing trades since 318. All right, that was last week sometime. All right, for those who are listening, who watching for the first time, or the ones who have been following me on this journey, I just want to briefly say thank you. Thank you for liking the channel. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you for continuously watching these videos. It really does help, and it pushes it to the people who really need to listen and really need to grasp this information. So again, thank you. I appreciate you guys, okay? Thank you for that, all right? And so the guys who have been rocking with me, you have been in swings on Tesla, so you're getting paid right now if you decided not to take off profits, all right? It was a 318 target, all right? 318 was the call trigger for us to get into calls, all right? The first target 2-3 weeks ago for us to get inside of calls was 295, all right? Since then, we made profit, we've taken it, and now around 318 was another call trigger for us to get into calls, and like I said, that was a week or two ago. We are at 330, so even if we are having prices fall back, you are still in the money. And so what do we have now in front of us? Overhead resistance, all right? People being cautious for the data coming out Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Same scenario with spot, right? People have made their money. Now it's maybe possibly distribution time. There could be some there could be some news coming out overnight that could push Tesla up or down. However, it's looking as if, all right, we have some small time bearishness right here on Tesla with some profit taking, right? I want to let you guys know that there is a lot of room to the downside only because we have gaps to the downside. If this point, like, let's say we wake up in the morning, because the prices is already moving now, right? But if we were to breach 323, right? Right now the time of this recording is 6:51. If we break 323 on Tesla overnight, we're going to see a big flush down, okay? If it happens tomorrow, we're going to see a big flush down. Being that it's a very short week and a volatile week, institutions and big players might want to get their share at a value price, at a fair price. And so you could see some flushes to the downside on Tesla. We could see low prices towards 300. It's not impossible to think that. I mean, just here on the 11th of June, we were at a high of 335. And 2 days later, we fell all the way back to 307, all right? So $30 to $25 move. So anything's possible, okay? And we have a short week, so it might take some time for prices to drop. But this is a clear indication of rejecting overhead resistance beneath the 21, all right? So it might be time for Tesla to take a break, all right, as a pause before the big move. You guys understand what I'm saying? All right? All right, if you want to join a thriving community and get signals and expertise just like this on a weekly basis, please check out that link below. I do this all the time for the unique traders in the group. All right, the tier 2 subscribers get exclusive trades. All right, and the free version comes with education and to be able to engage with like-minded people like yourself. All right, now we're going to move on to Netflix. All right, hope you guys are enjoying the video thus far. Netflix is a stock that I get requests on. All right, I get requests on Netflix. All right, bear with me as I navigate the screen. All right, I'm going to tell you what I think of Netflix. All right, everybody likes watching Netflix. If you don't, I don't blame you. Everybody doesn't watch TV, right? But I do like watching movies from time to time, audiobooks, documentaries, things like that, right? Old school classics. But we're not here to talk about movies, but ironically, we're talking about Netflix, right? And since this is human behavior is all over the charts. The SPY chart we talked about, all right? The Tesla chart we talked about. It's all about human behavior. And what I wanted to say about Netflix is real simple, okay? Netflix is heading into earnings on 16th or the 17th of next month, all right? After the quarter is over, that being the end of June. July is earnings season, right? It's going to be a lot of movement, all right? A lot of things happening, even like the robo-taxi event with Tesla. Things like that. But we have earnings season coming about us, and sometimes earnings on Netflix turns into a lot of cash flow. Netflix likes to run up during earnings. I do have a target of $12.50. All right, if you're listening, I have a target of $12.50. All right, and my call trigger on a high time frame, which is a daily. All right, I want to enter into calls if I can get a break above the number. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. 12.26.25. 12.26.25 is where I want to hop into calls for a swing towards the upside. Whether that happens tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, next week, any day of the week, all right? I want to enter into calls on this, right? And if I get a discount, all right? All right? My pullback discount zone on Netflix are going to be at around 12.19. All right, let's make that a yellow caution line, and let's make it a little bit thinner. All right, so again, all right, 12.26.25 is my call trigger on the daily for Netflix. If that price holds as demand, I want to take calls. All right, and so let's toggle down to the 1 hour. Matter of fact, let's go to the 4 hour. I want to give you guys some scenarios for both sides to see where you can get a good entry at, all right, on a pullback, okay? All right. Right now, Netflix is holding structure around the 1700 level, 16, 17, and 18, all right? And so we're holding structure here on the 4 hour time frame. I actually like the July 18th and the expiration date right before that, with a $100 and something move on Netflix and a $60 to $80 move. Don't quote me on that $60 and $80 move, but July 18th date and the one before that on the option chain. Go check the option flow on that. All right, we are now creating higher lows. All right, not high yet, but we are creating higher lows, and we are above the 21. I'm bullish on Netflix. Always wait for a pullback. If you're not into calls, we could pull back towards this yellow line here that I put on my chart, the midway on the daily, which is 12.19.47. So 1,219.47 for Netflix is a buy zone. If this zone fails to hold its demand, I want to take puts on Netflix to 12.06. All right, 12.06. All right, now appreciate you guys watching thus far. Okay, I said I was going to talk about SPY, Netflix, and Tesla. All right. But I also said I wanted to look at the market eternals, and that's what I'm going to do here is a VIX, all right? Now, on a previous video, all right, if you guys didn't catch that link, it's in the beginning of the video. I talked about, in the previous video about the VIX and what I needed to see happen, all right? We got that rejection. We did not get that pump. We got the rejection with a gap to the downside, okay? So this divergence and mixed signals will mean that this wants to go down and SPY goes up. But see, we're getting flushing on the SPY and on Tesla. What does that tell me? That means that it's still a buy to dip moment. This is just small time distribution and fear. It doesn't mean that we're going to flush. Just have the mindset to know two things can happen. It only can go two ways. And understanding why these things are happening and these signals are happening are very, very important. Okay? It's very, very important. All right? So we have right here on the daily time frame on VIX. Okay, what do we have? All right, bear with me as the screen loads up. It's going to be a very, very interesting week, guys. You guys got to stay sharp, all right? Make sure that you are, if you're part of the Discord, make sure that you're checking out the announcements, all right, and the Unique Outlook 2025 tab, all right? That's what we're going to need to see, all right? I want you guys to stay updated, all right? The COT report showed very, very bullish momentum from the institutions are buying, but they're also hedging. So they're hedging, and that hedging can cause fuel to the upside. But if the market snaps, right? If Powell says something and the market snaps, man, it get real ugly and flush to 595 and below that. I've already gave out that guidance. So anything's possible in a market like this, all right? Let's go ahead and go back to Netflix. All right. I'm sorry. Let's get back to the VIX. Forgive me for that, guys. All right, here we go. All right, let's get to the daily. And even on the hour, I can see we are below the 21 for a flush to the downside. So we can see a rally tomorrow. The put and call ratio is really showing bullish structure for tomorrow, bullish data for tomorrow. I mean, I'm just being quite honest. So the push down or the push up, you know, which one comes first? All right, which one comes first? All right, that's the VIX. All right, here goes the put call ratio. The put call ratio right here is telling me. And of course, I know, you know, if you guys are listening, and watching and you don't understand what the put call ratio is, it's just fine, all right? If you are interested in that, if you want me to do some content on put call ratio, which I plan to do, all right, you know, give me some incentive, all right? Let me know, give me some emojis or likes, or just let me know in the comment, engage. I talk back, all right? But as I'm seeing this on the put call ratio, it's kind of weak going towards the upside, all right? If we can get some push towards the downside and see some more weakening from this overhead resistance here, we can see more call buying in the market, all right? And as this looks now, you know, even going to the hour, we get these extremes, right? I want to see these extremes in the market. So anytime the extreme, it's too many people on the wrong side, I want to see the top reject, right? That's why I want to buy calls on SPY when this rejects on the put call ratio, PCE. So hopefully we get this rejection here. You know, I am a bull bias. I love going to the upside. But, you know, I don't just stay in one trade and stay stuck on one trade. Sometimes you have to adapt. You got to be able to switch your bias and know how to adapt in this market. It's just what it is. Mental toughness is what it takes, guys. Mental toughness is what it takes. Now, I'm going to wrap that video up here, all right? And I'm going to leave you with this, okay? This is your blueprint, all right? This is your blueprint. CPI is behind us. Powell's ahead, all right? This is what you need to be thinking about, okay? And honestly, if I had to say so myself, you don't have to trade. Trading is very hard if you don't have a strategy. Trading is hard if you don't have a plan. So find you a mentor, right? Find you a mentor. If this is something you want to do, something you want to learn, and you've been watching and listening, all right, feel free to book a discovery call to see where you are. If you need one-on-one coaching and you know that person is you've been watching videos over and over, listening to podcasts and documentaries, and you wonder, you always should get a mentor, somebody that can sharpen and shorten your learning curve for something you desire to do, all right? Doing so gives you an edge, finding a great mentor for yourself, all right? And so if this thing really helped you, if this video helped you, do me a favor, drop a comment below. All right, drop a comment below, hit the thumbs up button, all right, share with someone that you trade with, and as always, guys, welcome to the Matrix. This has been an episode of the Monday Madness, episode 8, all right, episode 8. Hope you enjoyed this video, and until the next time, guys, peace.